Hello everyone, this is Sankalp
And this is Gaurang.
and you're listening to our podcast, The Unwritten Case.
All right. Hi, everyone. As you know, we're working on a podcast called The Unwritten Case. And today, our first guest on the podcast is Louise Penichet. Did I say that correct? Did I butcher it?
Yep. No, it's perfect.
All right. Good.
Amazing.
So, Louise, how's your semester going so far?
It's awesome. It's awesome. The unwritten case, I like that. This semester has been about maybe not reading so many written cases, so hopefully this podcast has a lot of interest. This semester is great. I have a couple of IPs. I have a Field X. I think Rez has gotten completely inside my brain, so we're working. We're working on a startup, right? Scratching the entrepreneurial itch.
Very nice.
And while I missed the section, we built a really good, strong and cohesive section year one, and so spending time with the section mates outside of class, and it's nice to be able to focus on things that you want to do this year. But EC year is definitely a lot of fun.
Shout out to Section C.
Shout out to Section C.
Hey, shout out to Section H. Hello, I'm right here. No, but that's great to hear. I mean, I'm with you in Rez's class. I'm trying to work on a startup as well, but I think it's been a lot more of a pleasure, in the second year, getting to know people, spend more time intentionally, outside of the classroom, and just talk to people. And I think that's also what's led us to be here today.
Yeah.
I mean, build this
Exactly.
podcast.
We wouldn't be here without that.
That's right.
Right.
But something interesting, Louise, like I heard that you were coxing your boat at the head of the Charles event. Is that right?
I am, yeah. Yeah, I rowed Cox 4 years at Navy and fell in love with the sport. Specifically at Navy, it was nice to just be able to get outside the bubble, which is probably very similar to here. But you get outside the bubble and you're just on the water for a couple of hours with your friends, putting in work. And so last year I did the Charles. This year I'm one of the co-presidents of the boat club. Shout out to Sahar and Jakob, my fellow co-presidents.
Oh, nice.
And we're working with GSAS, the GSAS rowing program, and we've got two boats this year, men's and women's 8, and I'll be coxing the women's 8. It's been a lot of fun. Been working with the other coxswains, training them, giving them some feedback, working with the coaches and the team. It's been a lot of fun. And the Charles is a wonderful event, so hopefully we get as many HBS and section friends out there as possible, but it's the largest rowing event in the world.
If I'm correct, this is in the spring, right?
No, this is 5 days from now.
Oh,
5
wow.
days from now.
Yeah,
So if you're listening to this, you guys better get out and support Louise there.
It's Saturday, yeah. And we have a couple of other Josh Cuppersmith, Section
Yes,
C,
Section
shout out.
C.
He'll be rowing in the alumni event at 10:56, and Sahar will actually be rowing in my event with me at 1:44. And Aaron Finder up. He'll never forgive me if I don't name drop him. He's rowing as well. So it's wonderful, and it's not the best spectator sport. So you'll see me for about 15 seconds. Hopefully less. Hopefully less.
Hopefully less.
But get out there and get some clam chowder bread bowls and drink some beer with your friends, because this is the last opportunity for us to do it all together.
All the best.
Yeah.
You mentioned about, I think, getting out of the bubble, especially I think in our EC year. And what does rowing mean to you? Like, how does it what does it mean to you in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the first thing I think of is it's got two names. It's affectionately referred to as crew, and the reason I think it is because you've got 9 people in a boat working together as a crew, and so I think the thing it means to me is like brotherhood, teamwork. It's a sport where every single person is pulling for the rower in front of them and behind them, and you've got to do it together. The coxing position is unique. Most people ask me, well, you're just the guy that steers the boat, right? There's a lot more that goes on to it than that. I've got a coach, I've got a correct technique, I've got to execute a plan, and the Charles gets pretty hectic. So it's a little bit more than just steering the boat, and it's challenging too, because when I first started coxing, I had no idea what I was doing. Very similar to my experience at HBS. I still don't know what I'm doing. and you have these very experienced and technical rowers, and you're telling them what to do, and so that can be a little bit, stressful or challenging, or definitely create some imposter syndrome. And we'll see that theme probably throughout today's discussion, in the Marine Corps and things like that. But rowing has always been the opportunity to work with teammates, to better yourself, and I just personally love being on the water. So it's a great opportunity to be outdoors.
Maybe let's unpack that a little bit. Like, why don't you tell us, what led you to the Marines in the first place? Just give us a bit of background about your life story.
Yeah, sure. So let's go all the way back to, I think we'll have to go back to June 18th, 1954. My father was born in Cuba. He had an older brother, so my uncle, and my grandma and grandpa. So it was the four of them in Cuba. And Fidel took over. And it was the summer of 1960 where my grandfather comes home one day and he tells them to pack a weekend bag. We're going to take a trip to New York to visit some family. They had some family in New York. They went out to the tarmac, hop on a plane, pretended like they were going away for the weekend, and they left everything. Left all their belongings, left their family, left everything.
Wow.
And shortly after that happened, really there was no more travel to the U.S., so they got out in just in time. And I share that story 50 years before I had to make the decision to go to college or join the military, because I think that's what I grew up with. So much pride for the opportunities that America provides. And I think 18 years in America is worth a lifetime in some other countries. And you'll hear it all the time, freedom's not free, so who's the one that's going to stand up, right? Mannion he's a lieutenant in the Marine Corps. He was killed in action, but he's famous for saying, if not me, then who, right? So I think that created a great sense of patriotism and basically just sending the elevator back down. And so that was one of the real reasons that drove me. But the other reason, which I don't talk so much about, is that I went to the Naval Academy. So go Navy, beat Army. I'm sorry to my classmates that went to West Point. It is the lesser of the institutions, but we don't have to talk about that right now. My sister was 2 years ahead of me, so she graduated high school in 2011 or 2009, and I graduated in 2011. And she went to the Naval Academy. She had done a summer program there to make herself more competitive for some of the engineering schools like Dartmouth and RPI.
Okay.
And so she just went to get some leadership experience to make herself, again, more competitive on the application. She came back and she fell in love with it. She's like, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing.
Wow.
And it was fun. We visited her a lot. Annapolis isn't that far from New York, where I grew up. And so I couldn't let my sister join the military and then not do it myself. So, I had originally wanted to do something else. And when I found out that, that the Naval Academy was this really wonderful education at a beautiful place and provided an opportunity to serve, I said, absolutely, I'll do it. So I went to the Naval Academy from 2011 to 2015. At the Naval Academy is when you have to make the decision whether or not you want to go stay in the Navy or join the Marine Corps. And what drew me to the Marine Corps was the lifestyle, right? And so if you're not familiar with it, the Marines are very intense. They say once a Marine, always a Marine. And so what I loved about them is, my Navy counterparts would take off their uniform at the end of the day. They're done.
Okay.
They're done. It's like a job for them. But Marines, you'd get in trouble if you weren't shaved on the weekends, right? Or if you weren't wearing a proper Liberty attire. And so it was this mindset that you are always a Marine. And I think that was really attractive. The intensity, the level of competitiveness. Something as silly as we'd be in the field and who could throw a rock further, or what Marine could could chug a gallon of water without throwing up. And so just there was always competition, and I really like that. So I chose the Marine Corps for that sense of camaraderie, the sense of brotherhood, and a completely different culture than the other branches.
I can see that plays a lot. Even when you're talking about coxing and rowing, it's like drawing a parallel exactly to your experiences there.
Absolutely.
What was your most difficult time at the Marines?
In the Marines, the most difficult time? That's a good question. I think probably one of the most challenging times was my deployment to the Horn of Africa. It was a 6 months deployment to Djibouti, and we were working on it was a Benghazi mission set. So after Benghazi, the disaster that happened with the State Department and our ability to respond and support embassies, specifically around Africa. And so the mission set was to monitor the 13, high-risk embassies within the Horn of Africa and to come up with plans. And there are a lot of challenging parts. I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to go to Djibouti, but it's very hot. I met with the Djiboutian leadership, and they even hated being there. The king doesn't even spend his time there. He spends most of his time in France.
Wow.
And it was just tough on a personal level because I'd never seen that much poverty.
Okay.
And so, maybe there's a lot of classmates, specifically international classmates, that have been exposed to some of these areas. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. I mean, people were putting together. I mean, people were just sleeping in the streets. It's also a narco state. They have the cot trade. And I'm telling you, the cot trade and the cot industry in Djibouti, okay, makes Amazon's logistics look juvenile, right? These people will have cot brought in from Ethiopia, by 11, 12, and within a couple of hours, it's distributed all over the country. And they keep the people. There's a really good article actually in I think the Rolling Stones magazine about this, and they keep the people in basically perpetually high, so that there's no rebellion or there's no protests. Yeah, absolutely.
Damn.
And so to watch, these people, a lot of the Djiboutians live in homes that were assembled out of trash. Very, very, very sad place. And so the climate was absolutely horrible. Looking and seeing what the people were going through was certainly disappointing or challenging. And then being away from family and loved ones was hard too. And it was a wonderful mission set. I had the opportunity to visit a couple of the embassies, like Juba, South Sudan, and a few others in the Horn of Africa. And wonderful opportunity working with both the State Department and the Department of Defense. But it was an eye-opening experience, I think, to what's going on, in other parts of the world.
I had no idea about that. I mean,
Literally, dude.
Just hearing that from your perspective.
Every time I hear your story about the Marines, there's always something new that comes up, and I'm just always in awe and like, I think immense, just like respect for like what all you have gone through, and I'm sure what all you all have gone through.
I mean, I'm just curious, like you being in the Marines for that long, going through all these experiences, how has that shaped how you think today? How does that shape your actions, the way you go about life, experiences?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that was actually towards the end. That experience was towards the end of my Marine Corps career. The beginning and the middle of my Marine Corps career was characterized by really awesome opportunities. I was a tanker, and so we're talking about the M1A1 Abrams main battle tank. It's a 70-ton vehicle with a 1,500 horsepower jet turbine engine, moves 50 miles an hour. It's got a 120 millimeter main gun, and the thing was badass. Okay, every time I hopped up in that thing, I was like a little kid. My Marines would tease me, but Similar to when I started coxing. I showed up to the Marines, and it's incredibly technical, operational occupational specialty. And you know what I mean by that is this is a very advanced fighting system, weapon system. And so you have the Marines who are way more proficient than you. And so I think the first thing I got really comfortable with is being uncomfortable. I mean, you show up and you're 23, 24 years old, and you've got a platoon of maybe 15 guys, and some of them are 18 and 19 and they're brand new, but some of them are 27 or 32 or 35 and they have way more experience than you, or they're just 10 years older than you, and you're telling them what to do. And so I got comfortable being uncomfortable. I'd say that's the first thing. The second thing is advice I give to anybody is just because you're in a position of authority doesn't mean that you have to act in an authoritarian capacity.
Right.
And so I think my MO was ask questions. I remember the first time I sat down with my platoon sergeant. He's the most senior enlisted person. He's got the most experience and certainly demands the most respect. And I just said to him, look, I understand that this is comical. Like I'm just out of college, just out of tank school.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what I'm doing. So what makes a platoon commander good? And I just remember him smiling from year to year, like, okay, this guy gets it, right? And so, yeah, I recommend anybody going into ETA or search, going into maybe CEO or GM or president roles. We are equipped with the ability to learn quick, good decision, judgment, right? Critical thinking. We obviously have a certain set of talents. Let's not let that get in the way of the fact that I think humility can really move us with regard to relationships or opportunities to succeed. And so I think those are probably the two really big things that I took away from the military. And I'm still close to most of the Marines I served with. I think that's the fact that I'm most proud of. I talk to most of the guys that I served with on a weekly or monthly basis.
I think I do see this. I do see these qualities. I think both in the RC year and like many of you that I've met through the section, but also outside the section. That when you guys are some of the most humble people. I think what you said about authority doesn't mean that you have to act in an authoritarian way. I think is well summarizes your personality as well. I think that you do come in with an aura of like leadership in a meeting, but you won't ever make your members feel like that, or they're like under you. Like it's a team. And I think that that comes out even for us.
Absolutely. And the second part of your question was about how it's shaped me now. This I have to say this. 22, that's the number that everybody uses. It may be a little bit less. It may change year to year, but 22 vets kill themselves every single day. So by the time we're done with this podcast, one veteran will have killed themselves. And so, you hear that statistic when I was in the military, and I thought there's no way that that's possibly true. And then I go through the transition, and overnight you lose sense of purpose, sense of community and team. You take the uniform off, and something that, especially for Marines, I was explaining before, it's not just a clothes that you wear. It's not just the cloth of our nation. It's your identity. And I was fortunate to have a really positive transition, to have a tremendous amount of friends, to have opportunities. But a lot of veterans don't. 2 million veterans are underemployed, meaning that they are overqualified for the job that they're working. So, for instance, I could have one of my tank commanders who was responsible for a $10 million tank and 4, 5, 6 other Marines stocking shelves at Home Depot. It's not fulfilling work. He absolutely is qualified to do more than that. The problem is the service members aren't able to really explain what it is that they did in a compelling way to employers, and employers aren't educated enough on what it is that the service members are doing or what they're capable of doing, so they get put in roles that they're way overqualified for, and that leads to self-esteem issues. It leads to you're not being challenged. I mean, these are war fighters we just want to be challenged, hardworking men and women, and so you lose the camaraderie, that team, that sense of purpose. and you're left alone. And so one of the things I'm extremely passionate about now is just sending the elevator back down. And it's not just about service members. I think it's opened my eyes to the fact that we should just, if everybody goes out of their way and helps one or two people a day, or just spends time, supporting someone's career or opportunities or answering questions, it really could go a long way. And my passion, of course, is to help vets to have a successful transition, because, like you said, I mean, the vets are an incredibly impressive group here at HBS. I think they're stand out in every single section. I think the majority of HBS would say that we love the vets. There's a certain unique quality about them, and there are a lot of them that get left behind, who possess all the same qualities and attributes, and so I'd be remiss if I wasn't more vocal about that.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think for many of us at HBS as well, I think Marine has shaped your identity, but family also shapes our identity.
Yes.
And many of us don't share about like how it has shaped us identity, but like you stayed away from your family for like a long period of your time. How did your relationship with them, and like how has that shaped us as who you are, and how you see, I think, people around you who are close to you as well?
Yeah, I really like the last part of that question. And to answer it plain and simply is, I view people around me in a similar fashion that I do with my family, right? And if you know me personally, I think that that's very, very obvious. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I do come from a broken family. My parents divorced when I was very, very young. It wasn't exactly an amicable separation. And my stepmom came into the picture very early on. I have some stepbrothers. So I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. 2 full sisters, 1 half brother, and 3 stepbrothers. And the idea that family is blood is just not something that I agree with. I reject it completely. So if you take that a step further, what's to say that you guys aren't my brothers? And if you think about what you're asked to do in the military, you're asked to die for the people to the left and right of you. I mean, then it's the greatest act of love. And so I think that obviously family is important for a lot of reasons, but for me, having been gone for so long, and sort of have a very eclectic family, I have just tried to create family wherever I've gone, and I think it's fulfilling. I don't know if that's I don't know if a psychologist is listening, they want to say, "Oh, that's a mechanism for whatever." I don't know. It's important to me. You're spending so much time with these people, right? If you look at it, especially the consultants and bankers, you guys are going to be spending way more time with your coworkers, your employees, your employers than your family.
Yeah,
you better like them.
And if you don't,
yeah, well, find a new family.
Find a new family.
So I think it's a very good question. That gets probably at the heart and soul of what makes me tick.
Yeah.
I just, and why I probably like the RC experience so much, right? Because you go through this wonderful, incredible section experience, and we've got a wonderful family of 94 people, and I've got 9 other sections of crazy cousins.
Yes. Word.
How do you think, Luis, that, you talk about family, you talk about how that shapes, how you see others around at HBS and your Marines experience. How do you think that has shaped your life purpose? And, what do you think your life purpose is so far?
Okay, well, because HBS is the great existential crisis, I will respond, especially thinking back to module 4 or 5, however many modules there were. Sorry, Professor Jackson, I already forgot. But the last module where everyone was just spinning, the answer to that question is to be a husband and a father. Like, absolutely. Now if you're part of Section S, you know that that's going absolutely horribly for me. But it doesn't change the fact that that's important. And I guess if the point is to get to know me a little bit more, one of the main reasons is, coming from a broken family and having parents that had a pretty challenging divorce, it's hard. I think that I don't want that to happen to me. And so Reza would say I'm preserving optionality or I'm afraid to commit. I would reject that notion and say, like, no, the actual problem is I commit too much. And I guess I'm worried that, the other person doesn't feel that way, and you end up like your family with a broken family. And so, a little bit of an aside, but just a little bit about me. I think the most important thing for me, and the most important thing for all of us, and if we look and we think about the memoirs that we read for 10 and 15, 20 years, a lot of them, yeah, sure, you made money, you had great careers, but guys, please, I'm imploring you, just get married and have families. Like,
That's an important part of life.
I think it's the most important part of life. What's our legacy going to be? Yeah, sure, you could be the CEO of companies, you could cure cancer, you could do wonderful things, but the majority of us will just leave behind children and grandkids and great grandkids, and that's your legacy. Right? What kind of people did you leave behind? And so I think that that's the most important thing to me. The other thing is I just want to have an impact. I've been spending time interviewing for the CEO programs that they have here, and they ask, what do you want to do? And I tell them, look, I'm not chasing the CEO title. I want to have autonomy. I want to have the ability to make consequential decisions, right? but it's the impact.
Yeah.
I think about what makes a leader, a manager, a GM, a president, a CEO good. I think it's the impact you have on your employees. You do nothing. You structured a great deal. Good. How'd you bring the two companies together? You better have galvanized those employees to work towards a common mission. Yeah. And how do you do that? You got to get to know them personally. I mean, that was the Marine Corps was very much like that. We had part of the operations order that we briefed was, admin and logistics and what you would do in case of a casualty or a medevac or how do you take care of these troops? And if you glossed over that section and didn't spend enough time in a detailed plan, your troops are like, this guy doesn't care. Like, maybe he's really successful, he's really aggressive, he's mission oriented, he accomplished missions. But if you're coming back with super high casualties, if you're coming back and your sailors or Marines or your service members know that you don't have their best interests at heart. And so we had a saying in the Marine Corps that was mission first, Marines always. And so you can juggle those two things. You can focus on the mission and also focus on taking care of the people that enable you to accomplish the mission. And I say that that's true for business as well, right? And anybody we're all going to lead businesses in whether it's a line of business or a segment or a function at a group, or whether it's starting a business or actually running and owning your own business. And I just implore people to think about who it is that is actually driving the performance of the P&L.
What's the take about your experience at HBS related to what you think your purpose is in life, how you have structured that? So you talk about, sending the elevator back down. You talk about focusing more on the people, the community, and then you look at the strategies. And I think, when you come to a business school, sometimes that can, get hindsighted.
Yeah.
Right? Because of person. So just too curious, what do you think the take
Absolutely.
is?
I think the most important part about HBS, which is why your section needs to just be unstoppable. And thank God that Section C is unstoppable. Feel bad for some of those sections that had to relaunch, but
oh no.
The reason that I say that is because the most valuable thing that HBS does is expose us in the same way that I was exposed to a completely different culture and lifestyle and situation in the Horn of Africa. It exposes us to different cultures, perspectives, values, mindsets, people. And if you think about the mission, to make a difference in the world, right? Leaders that are going to make a difference in the world. You need to have a really well-informed and educated understanding of the people that make up the world. Especially if you're going to be leading organizations with very, very diverse employee bases. And so the most valuable thing, I love HBS. I specifically love the way that they approach RC year with the section experience. I think there's a lot of analogies to the military. Like, this place absolutely would be the West Point or Annapolis of MBAs, because the first year is like your boot camp, your indoctrination period, where you go in, you get absolutely crushed, you don't get a say in the matter, and you go through this experience with 90 other people. And when we look back, right, like, that's the power of HBS. I don't know how many people from other schools like, GSB Wharton or CBS or Sloan are going to be listening to this, but I'm sorry that the relationships that we built from the section experience are going to be unbreakable compared to those schools. And so if you think about the value of the MBA, of course, it's the education and what you learn, but it's the network.
Correct.
It's the challenges, whether it's the personal growth or whatnot, those existential crises, the big questions that you have to ask yourself. But if you really come back to the network, if the value of an MBA is the network, then HBS does it better than anybody else. I call Jamie Dimon right now and ask him about the cranberries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to know that.
Exactly. And so you
triangle.
have this shared experience, and that's what makes the military so successful, this level of camaraderie. And so, if you haven't spent time thinking about it, take a second. HBS, take a second, step back and say, wow, I am connected to every single HBS class before me and all the HB classes that are going to go in front of me. And that's powerful. So, yeah, to answer the question, what's my opinion? I think it's phenomenal. I think that this program is incredible. And the thing that we should all be doing is striving to listen and encourage those with different viewpoints to speak up. I think the administration has, last year we got 4 surveys asking about, are you getting, are you comfortable sharing? And so, I've had some hot takes. Section C knows. But I appreciate after that, right? Nobody's ever made me feel little for having a unique perspective, and on many occasions, section mates will come up to me afterwards and say, "Thank you so much for saying that. I learned something," right? And that's important. And it does something. Right? One of two things is going to happen when you listen to someone with a different opinion than you say something. I mean, 3 things could happen, but the third thing shouldn't happen, and that's that you get upset or you're frustrated or you don't want to be friends with them. Hopefully that never happens. But the 2 things that are going to happen are you're going to learn something that you didn't know before.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, ignorance is scary. So you learn something, and what that does is it's either going to change maybe or inform your view, maybe change it a little bit, or it doesn't resonate with you and you don't agree with it, but not because you're closed-minded. Open your mind, listen to what they're saying, internalize it, maybe step back, do some more research. And if you're still not compelled, now you have another data point for the conviction in your original beliefs.
Correct.
This is amazing. It's a really amazing program. I am super, super humbled to be here, surrounded by such incredible people.
With that, I think RCs are still, getting into the routine of things. They're still new here.
God bless them. Are they at midterms yet? Is that coming up?
I think they're just getting on it. Yeah.
I think this week.
I think this week actually.
Yeah.
But that being
Do
said,
you think they're still meeting discussion groups?
I do see them sometimes.
Early
mornings.
I remember like a couple of weeks back, I was just walking out in Schwartz, and it was packed with people at 8:30 in the morning. And I just remember it was just like, how long is it going to take them to, like break off? But also they're so passionate. I remember those days. You'd be out and about, ready with a cup of coffee, talking to your group, excited about class.
I think this is crazy, like what you said about the first year being like a military school, like the way that they train everyone to get into this routine is, I think that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It builds a tremendous sense of camaraderie. We know what the RCs are going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, the same people that went through
Exactly.
this know exactly what we went through.
Exact same thing.
We have very close experiences. What do you think RCs should know getting in? They're still early, like there's still a lot of time for them. But what do you think you'd tell them?
My advice to RCs is trust the process. Trust the process. You're freaking out. You're worried about recruiting. It's just kicked off. You're worried about getting a 3 or 3 threes or 6 threes. You're worried about looking like an idiot in front of your classmates. It's okay. It's okay. Embrace looking like an idiot. It's fine.
No one's going to remember that comment you made.
No, they might, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your entire, if your entire self-esteem is built around, the fact that 90 people remember a dumb comment, then you have a lot more work to do, and you really are just a house of cards.
Yes.
So you need to go back to the drawing board. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I love this. If you're not familiar with it, look it up. But basically talks about the layers to self-actualization, and once you get past your or physiological needs, you have your safety and security needs, and everybody here has those too. So the last 3 blocks are belongingness, self-esteem, and self-actualization. And so if your entire day, week, year is going to be ruined because you made a silly comment or you made a mistake, again, you got to check your ego and hubris at the door. That's a point of pride that's keeping you back from growing. The second thing is, maybe you don't have that sense of belongingness. Maybe you don't have the family or the friends or, the unit that's structured to provide a foundation for you, right? If some people think you're silly, it shouldn't bother you. And I think there's a famous quote said something like, if someone is liked by everyone, they never stood for anything.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that goes on at HBS, and I would challenge people, there's not a single person that I have met that has made a comment, whether I agree or disagree with it, that has made me not like that person. So, maybe we need to do a better job at that. But the other thing is then you get to self-esteem, and everybody is made at HBS, so we should have a certain level of self-esteem and conviction that we deserve to be here. And Jana says it all the time. They don't make any admissions mistake. I'm still working on proving her wrong, but
Come on.
but I think that's all very important stuff. The RCs just need to trust this process, because what will happen, right? Let's look back. Think about what you thought about as RC. You know what they're feeling, and you know why they're feeling it.
Yes.
It's so silly.
Yeah. It is.
But you have to go through the experience. You have to go through that to achieve the growth.
It's part of the process.
To achieve the growth. So guess what? RCs? Trust the process. You're going to be fine. Okay?
I think that brings us to the last question, and that's very much on theme with this podcast. So, as you know, it's called The Unwritten Case. Picture yourself 10 years down the line, Luis. You're a successful CEO. How do you think you want your case to be written as a protagonist?
Okay. Well, first of all, I hope that I'm able to come back as a protagonist 10 years from now, and that I'm not behind bars in a jail cell.
So not in the Anatomy of Fraud.
Let's say I don't want it to look anything like Enron. I don't want it to look anything like Theranos.
Letters from the prison, FRC case.
Hopefully, there's no letters from the prison.
Your husband.
I'm gonna go back. You're gonna talk to a lot of people, and they're gonna have different opinions on this. I'm gonna go back to where I think true happiness comes from, and I'll go back to the most important thing. I think for me would be to become a husband and a father, and I hope. I imagine that if I were a protagonist in any case, the case would be lead. And maybe the case reads something like, successful CEO, maybe I went back to JP Morgan, whatever. I abandoned a career to pursue a family, to pursue, my roles and responsibilities as a husband and a father, and that life is a series of choices, and it's definitely not fair. Life's not fair. Some people have to make decisions that come at the expense of, a career and salary. But I think the reason I'm spending time to say this is because you only get a short window to make those decisions. And so I hope that my case reads something like, Luis was able to rise above all of the pressure around promotion and titles and compensation, and he was able to pursue his values and what he really wanted to do. And I hope that's how the case is written.
Wow. I'm gonna wait for that case. I'm gonna read it.
I'm gonna wait
I'm
for
gonna
the
read
case.
it out there.
I'm gonna make my kids read that case. No, Louis.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure having you here.
It's been a pleasure.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
only looking forward to watching you over the next 10 years, see what new heights you achieve.
Yeah, this is incredible, guys. I love what you're doing. I think that this is a great way for us to get to know each other, and I really appreciate the Moroccan tea. It was wonderful.
Well,
Great.
friends, this was Louis Penichet, and stay tuned for the next podcast, The Unwritten Case.